How's everybody doing today? Good. All right, I'm gonna join you guys right here. We're gonna have the same discussion together, okay? And your principal just told me that you guys have 2 more weeks of school left. Is that right? What's one thing that we can all be excited about during the summer? Oh, I got too many hands to call on. Who's excited to be in the sun? Yeah? And who's excited to maybe swim in a pool or swim in a lake? Yeah, right. Now, it's always important to make sure that you have somebody with you, whether it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousin, your best friend. You always want to make sure that you have somebody with you when you're getting in the water. And why is that important? I think you guys all know the answer, right? It's to be safe, and it's to make sure that someone else knows where you are, and then you also get to know where they are. So it's always important, everybody, that when you do decide to go swimming, that you do it on a buddy system. Who's heard of that, the buddy system? And then who's got a buddy? I bet you everybody in here's got a buddy, right? So it's important that when you do get in the water, that you know where your friends are, you know where your buddy is. And then you need to make sure that they know where you are as well. And that way, at all times, no matter what's going on, you have a partner in crime, right? You've got somebody who's going to be with you. And they're going to look out for you, and you're going to look out for them. That's probably one of the best ways to stay safe when you're getting into a pool or a lake. Another way to do it, to be safe, is to, like I mentioned, know what your swimming abilities are. And so if you need to use a kickboard, who's used a kickboard before? Right? That's that board, you kind of put your arms up on it and it helps you kick your legs. It helps you learn how to swim, right? So if you have to use a kickboard until you're strong enough and familiar enough with being in the water until you can swim or float on your own. And what about floaties? Who's used floaties before? I used to use floaties. Yeah? So that's important too. Because what do floaties do? What do floaties and boards do, right? Yeah, they help you swim better. They help you stay at the top of the water. So that's all important stuff. And then here's another one. What about the noodles? You know those things that kind of flap around? Who's seen those before? Yeah. And you've got to remember that those things are really, really helpful tools for you to use in the pool to stay safe and to stay above the water. As much fun as they are to kind of twirl them around, they're really, really nice toys that you can use to also be safe. And so another thing to remember when you're going out swimming is to make sure that you're got a good bathing suit on, because you don't want to go. I see a lot of the young boys and girls in here are wearing sweatpants and shirts, and you know what would happen if you got in the water when you're wearing all these heavy clothes. It would be a lot harder to swim, right? So make sure that when you're getting into a pool or getting into the lake, that you're wearing a proper swimsuit, that you can move around freely, and that you're not wearing any clothing or shoes that have extra weight on them, because if you've got that extra weight on you, it's going to make it harder to move around, right? And we want to make it as easy as possible when you're in the water. Because being in the water is not only a lot of fun, it's a great way to socialize and be with your friends. It's great exercise. Basically, swimming is one of the best activities you can do during your summer vacation. So I hope all you guys are able to either get into a pool or get to the lake and enjoy it. And another thing to remember as well is know your surroundings. So for instance, when you're in a pool, who's been in a pool and you see the little drains or the little jets on the side, right? Everybody's seen those. So those are actually important parts of the pool that help it stay clean and function properly. And so when you see those drains and the jets, it's important to kind of stay away from those so that you don't disrupt any of the pool's mechanisms, but also because some of those things can really hurt you. When I was about 10 years old, so I think right around the age of some of you guys, I got one of my fingers caught in one of the drains, and it cut my finger really bad. So you got to be careful about those things, because the drains, what they're supposed to do is they're filtering the water. They're taking the water, they're cleaning it, and then they're giving it back into the pool so you guys can all swim in safe, clean water. But you have to kind of let those drains kind of do their job. So it's always important to be careful when you see those drains that you don't want to put your hands near them. You don't want to get your clothing too close to them. And for probably mostly the girls, you don't want to get your hair too close to them, because if they get stuck in there, you know, it can be a problem. Somebody can get hurt. So it's always important to remember where those drains are when you get into a pool. And then likewise, when you're in the lake. When you're in the lake, it's always important to remember where you are, because in the lake you can kind of go out into the water, and then before you know it, you're floating to either side, and then you find out that you're not exactly where you walked into the water. You're not in the same spot on the beach, because the lake and the ocean, they've got currents that move around. And before you know it, you can be in a different location. So it's always important to make sure that you pay attention to your surroundings when you're at the beach and at the lake, because you don't want to go too far out into the water before you realize that you're in a different spot than when you originally came in. That makes sense, right? And finally, one thing that you want to make sure you do around the pool is listen to the lifeguards, right? Because the lifeguards, what are they there to do? They're there to help keep you safe. They're there to protect you. So when they're telling you something, they're not doing it to try to make you have less fun. They're just trying to make you stay safe. And trust me, staying safe is the most important thing, because the least fun thing is if someone gets into an accident or somebody gets hurt. That's the stuff that's not fun. So the best way to have fun is to make sure that none of that stuff happens. So make sure you listen to your lifeguard. And what's the one thing, if anybody's been to a pool, what's the one thing the lifeguard always seems to blow the whistle at you for? Did I think I heard it? Running? When you're running around the pool, that's right. And diving, that's true. So we got to pay attention. Like I said, it's important to pay attention to not only what the lifeguards are saying, but the area that you're in. Because when you're around a pool, what's right outside the pool on the ground? It's more water, right? And more water just means it's slippery. And so when you're trying to get from one end of the pool or the other, or trying to get out of the pool to go to the locker room or something like that, it's always important that you take your time. Because if you start running and you try to move too quickly, you can slip and fall, and that might lead to you getting hurt. And again, the first step in having fun is to make sure you stay safe. So make sure that when you're at the pool, you listen to your lifeguard, and you don't run around the pool, because the whole area around the pool can be very slippery. And then as we already heard, diving. And what's the problem if you dive into a pool that's too small? You can hit your head, that's right. So you gotta watch out, look for signs, that's right. Use the important tool of reading that all your wonderful teachers are teaching you how to do. When you see the sign on the ground that says no diving, make sure you listen. Because the sign on the ground is doing the exact same thing that the lifeguard's doing. They're just trying to protect you. They're trying to make sure that you get to enjoy the pool or the lake in as safe as a possible manner. And so that's really important, because if you slip and fall, that can be, you know, you might hurt your leg, or you fall on your back or something like that. But if you dive into a pool that's too small, what are you going to hit? Yeah, you guys are all grabbing at your head. And this is the most important thing all you guys got going on, because that's where your beautiful little brains are. That's what you guys use to learn and experience everything you love every single day. So you got to protect that. And diving into a pool that's too small is a dangerous thing to do, because you might hit your head. So we're going to make sure that we don't run around the pool, right? We're not going to dive into a pool that's too small, right? And we're going to listen to the lifeguards when they tell us things, because they're just trying to keep us safe. And then another thing I wanted to mention too, and this is when you're at the pool but not in the water, is what's always going to be something you need to keep your mind on during the summer when the sun's out and it's really hot. Sunscreen, yeah, that's right. Sunscreen. Because who's gotten a sunburn before? I have. Those are not fun. Because then your skin gets itchy, it hurts, right? That's no fun. And then you can't be out in the sun anymore. That's the worst part about getting a sunburn, is you get a sunburn on Saturday and then on Sunday you can't go outside. So make sure, and if your mom and dad or your brothers and sisters are putting on sunscreen, you be the one to tell them. You say, Mom, I need sunscreen. Dad, I need sunscreen. And you better put it on my brother too. Because that's how you protect your skin. First, we got to protect the big, beautiful brains you have and the big, beautiful skin that you all have. And the way to do that is with sunscreen. Because sunscreen will protect you from the dangerous ultraviolet rays that the sun is shining down on you. But you can avoid any problems with just a little bit of sunscreen. All you have to do is take 5 minutes to put on some lotion, and that's all it takes. And finally, I think this one goes without saying as well, is who's accidentally like jumped into a lake or a pool and they accidentally swallowed some of the water? Ugh. Yeah, that's gross, right? So here's what you want to remember is the water that's in the pools that you guys are swimming in, they have a lot of chemicals in them that help keep the pool clean so that everybody can enjoy them. So everybody can go into the pool because it's safe and clean. But it keeps the water clean only for your exterior, for your skin, your hair. The chemicals don't really do damage to them as much. But if you swallow the water, it tastes really icky, right? Yeah, so you want to make sure that you try not to do, if it happens a little bit, that's okay. But try not to swallow any of that water, because it has a lot of these little chemicals in it that you don't want in your body. You want to just drink the nice clean water that you have at your homes. Okay? You know, I like being back here because what's your mascot? It's the Shamrocks, right? Yeah, because I see the little Fighting Irish guys and the clovers all over. Because I've got some Irish in me as well, and I went to Notre Dame, where the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and we've got the exact same symbol as you guys. So we basically went to the same school, me and you. That's basically what it means. But anyway, I'm really glad you guys came out today to talk, or listen to me talk. And it's important that you remember a lot of these little things about safety around pool and in the lake and when you're out in the sun. Because staying safe and getting through the summer without any kind of illness or injury is step number one to having a super fun summer. You know, who's had a boo-boo before? Who's gotten a little hurt? Right? That's never fun, right? There's nothing fun about that. It's the opposite of fun. So the first thing you want to make sure you do when you're setting out for your fun summer adventures is that you're doing them safely. And I hope that some of the things I mentioned today will make you think twice about them and will keep you extra safe this summer so that you guys all can have so much fun this summer, and then maybe in the fall I can come back to you and talk more about other fun things that I'm sure all of you guys are going to experience over the summer.